We're connecting and we're live. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to
Yes.
Wisdom Wednesday. My name is Reverend Evelyn, and I have a beautiful guest, Mandisa Mosi, here. And we are going to we had to cut our conversation short in the green room, I call it, which is the little chat before we go live. So this is going to be a delicious conversation. So thank you all who are coming in to join us. I'm going to give it just a couple seconds and let people get in and get comfortable. And then I will do our opening breath work and a little invocation, and then we'll get started in the conversation. So welcome, welcome. I see Danielle. I see Misha.
Hi, Danielle, Misha.
Asia. Welcome. Welcome.
Greetings.
Come on in. Come on in. And I hope that people will feel free to type your questions in the chat. Hello, Danielle. Like Danielle has already done. It's not a question,
Yes.
it's a greeting. So feel free to say hello.
Mhm.
Feel free to type questions in the chat if you have any, because it's fun to get engagement from viewers rather than just have it be like a passive, you sitting there staring at your phone and we're having a lively conversation. So if you join in, it makes the energy richer and it makes the conversation richer. So
Yes.
welcome, welcome. Feel free to type whatever questions or comments you have in the chat, and we will get going in a second.
Hi, Aaliyah.
Okay. All right. So I am going to get started with a little bit of breath work. I keep kicking the table. There we go. All right. Because I'm going to put my feet flat on the floor. Oh, welcome, Dr. Aliyah Zamani. Welcome. Come on in. Greetings. Okay. So, so let's do just a little bit of breathing. As one of my mentors says, that this breathing is grounding. It helps us to move from getting here to being here, and this energy of presence. And so there's Nubia Latifa. What a beautiful name. Welcome. Goodness.
Yes, welcome.
And so I just breathe. Mm. So what I know right now is that there is one power, one presence, one love, one law, one spirit, one mind. And I know that I am one with this amazing power, that it is within me, that it expresses itself through me and as me. So I speak my word this evening for this beautiful gathering, for this Wisdom Wednesday. And I include all of the people who are joining us live, who are being so generous with their time and energy to spend this time with us, and those who will watch on the replay. And I invite the presence of spirit to hover over us and inspire this conversation, fill us with love and joy and peace.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it is with abundant joy, abundant gratitude that I release this word into the law. I allow it to be so, and so it is.
Yes.
Ashe, ashe. Okay. Welcome. All right. So, Mandisa, thank you so much for saying yes, for being here for Wisdom Wednesday. And if you want to begin by just introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your publication, that would be beautiful.
Sure. Well, thank you, first of all, for asking. Um, I love to interview people, and I've always been itching for someone to interview me. So when I saw that you asked, I was like, "Look at God." The
Yes,
collective ancestors are always working and
absolutely.
conspiring with us. So I'm very grateful to be here. I am from Albany, Georgia, originally, born, raised, marinated on the east side. Um, and I've lived a very, very vivid life after coming from there. So recently, I am a cult survivor. In April, it will be a full year removed, no contact, 7 years in and out of it. I'm a Spelman graduate, chemistry major, have my BS in chemistry. I'm a spiritualist, a ritualist. I love to hold space for women. I love to do sound healing, meditations, readings, some deeper work too. if my clients need it and if it comes up. But yeah, I don't advertise it. It's just like if it comes up.
Mhm,
Because I'm very intentional about spiritual offerings. I know that
mhm,
for a lot of us, we can be just curious about it and want things that we don't really need. And I'm not someone who likes to give someone and just say, "Hey, you can order this," or when it may not be a need. I don't like to take advantage of people in that way,
mhm.
because I've been taken advantage of. So I take spirituality and my practice and everything that I do very, very seriously. Um, but I am very funny. But when it comes to the work, I get very serious.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Alright. I love that. So the thing that sort of jumps out at me to begin with, and it's one of the things that, um, aside from my first encounter with you was in the Black Stack, Flow Hour chat.
Mhm,
I love Black Stack, and Flow
mhm,
Hour is like Tuesday and Thursday, like, um, but then when I saw you talking about being a cult survivor, I was like, "Oh, okay, I need to talk to Mandisa about that."
mhm,
My mom was involved in a cult
mhm,
when I was a kid, and then I became involved, sort of tripped and fell into one when I was an adult, a full cognizant adult.
mhm,
Um, and so I'm curious about your experience. I don't know how much you share about it.
mhm,
Um, because when you said in and out, I mean, once I got out, I was way out. There was never a thought of going back. I was like,
mhm,
so I'm just curious about your story. Um, I was just listening to an interview with Trevor Noah had with a cult. He does he helps to people to like heal their mind after they come out of a cult. It's not just deprogramming, it's like getting your mind back.
mhm,
Um and so because of my experience in childhood and then in adulthood with cults, I just thought, "Oh, I've got to hear her story." So
mhm.
I don't know if you want to share a little bit about your experience.
Sure, yes. I've shared a lot of it on Substack a couple of times.
Mhm.
And so it started off as a friendship. Like we were 2 women just together learning about everything, starting off on quote unquote equal footing. And then things started to shift and change and the dynamic shifted. And for me, I think it was easy to do an in and out situation because I had this thought in my mind that she was a friend or a sister. The cult was based on healing Black women of the African diaspora,
Mm.
and it was really heavy on that. She was really heavy on, doing that Afrocentric work and that community healing work that so desperately needs to be done that I
Yep.
still believe in to this day. So it hits
Mm.
all of the trigger points. It's like I want this. That's what I'm here for. That's the work that I want to do. Um, and it used African traditionals because I practice Ifa, Orisha, Isheshe.
I was going to ask you.
Um, yeah, and so it utilized that. So it was that element of it. Ironically enough, the portions of it that was cult-like was not the Isheshe portions. She would
Okay.
add her own extra stuff to it and
Okay.
be like, "Spirit said this and Spirit said that." So when it's like Spirit said it, it's like you wanna be obedient to Spirit. So I'm
Of
like,
course.
let me just do it." And there was all of this fear-mongering always. And when for me, she did such a good job at devaluing and, like, getting you to believe that you don't know what you know, getting you not to trust yourself. Like, her one of her favorite saying is, like, "You're off path. You're not clear with your Ori. You don't know." Like, all these stuff. Like, "We gotta get your Ori together." Ori meaning head,
Mhm.
your destiny, your clarity. And so, it was always that type of talk. And so you're constantly second guessing yourself, right? And it gets to a point because first we started off, I wasn't living with her. Then it got to a point where I was living with her. It was me, her, and another girl. And that's when things became very much spooky house, I like to say, like
Mhm.
up over 24 hours a day when I have to work in the morning, doing rituals, doing a lot of things. Like, there was a lot of sexual abuse as well. And I know that a lot of people don't think that that happens with women, but there are cult leaders
Mhm.
who are women, and there are cult leaders who women who sexually abuse, and there are cult leaders who are women who financially abuse, emotionally and mentally abuse, physical abuse, and it was all of those type of things there. And yeah. I think for her, like, there were components of it that were, there's just one aspect I don't really talk about it that much, but there's a portion of it that was, sex magic based. And I
Mhm.
think for me, if you know anything about sex in general and
Mhm.
how our energies work, those create cords.
Absolutely. Energetic cords. Yep.
Mhm, and if you don't remove them, you can leave, but that'll still be there. So it was always a pull to come back, 1, because of that, 2, because there was a lot of manipulative work she was doing with our ancestors as well.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and a lot of, like,
Wow.
yeah, a lot of language and things like that, so
Okay. So what was was there a single like sort of linchpin that made you say, "All right, no more. I'm out of here." Like what was the
mhm. So the cult, convinced me that I talked about this story too on Substack. The cult convinced me that I had schizophrenia, right? My gifts were growing, expanding. I was seeing things, I was hearing spirits, I was seeing different spirits. Um, the thing about it is they were seeing and hearing them too. At least they claimed to have been seeing them and hearing them. Um, but then one day I just told them, yeah, I have an ancestor, or I have an ancestor who has schizophrenia, and I have an uncle who has schizophrenia. And then her whole demeanor changed, shifted. And she was like, why didn't you tell me you have schizophrenia? I was like, I don't have schizophrenia. My people in my family have schizophrenia. And she was like, if I had known about this, I wouldn't have never done rituals. I would never have given you rituals. I was a ritualist before I even got there. I was a tarot reader and everything before I even got there. She used me to do all the tarot readings for everybody and every woman who ever came there. But over time, let me just focus on the story. And then so, like, she would get into this thing with the schizo piece and be like, no, she started like listing these things, like Googling what the schizophrenia symptoms are, saying, don't you deal with disorganized speech? Don't you deal with this, that? Because back then I wasn't aware of energy completely. Like, I
Mhm.
knew of it, I was aware of it, but I wasn't aware that if you're talking to somebody and you just fall asleep, there's probably negative energy that you don't need to be engaging with them. So there'd
Mhm.
be several times where I'll be talking to her and I'll just literally doze off. And she used that against me. There'd be times where she would just talk, 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 talk. It's over 24 hours we're speaking. Already I have to go to work, but she would judge my inability to speak as disorganized speech.
Mhm.
And so it was like all of these things. So, um, I lost my mind. Like, literally, because I'm trying to work. Literally, I'm the only one who works there. It was financially exploitive, like I told you. I'm the only one who works there and, who has a real 9 to 5. And I'm having to do this work in this cult, which is healing Black women, which is healing sisterhood. And by healing sisterhood, then we heal our communities and we heal the world. Okay, that's a lot of work outside of our 9 to 5, the way that you're doing it. And so, one instance I left, I didn't do a PHP, but I went to a therapist and I got on a bunch of meds, and these meds nearly killed me. So that was when I left that first time.
Okay.
Again, I lost my mind. Was the final straw. I lost my mind again. I went to a PHP program. And during the PHP, the post hospitalization program, I realized if I go back, I'm going to keep having to come back here. This is not like, because they kept saying there's no black and white here. I asked them one question one time. I was like, okay, I can't get myself to do raw food, raw vegan food. How can I get back there? Because the cult was very strict on diet. And they're like, We don't here we don't view food as bad. We don't believe in black or white, so and I realized then, "Oh, okay. I'm never if I go back again, I'm really signing myself up for a lifetime
Yep.
of this cycle."
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, sleep deprivation is one is a it's a classic, tactic
Mhm,
for cults and for, trying to control your mind and all that
mhm.
stuff. So, wow. So now you said you were out of it for a year. So how do you feel now that you're a year apart from it? Like, how's I mean, your energy feels wonderful. Like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
I feel great, actually. There are moments where I still have anger, I'm not gonna lie. Anger, though, I know is deep-rooted in me, it's ancestor deep.
I was gonna
So
say.
it's it's not necessarily just from the cult. There are moments where especially when I first left and when I first began sharing my story on Substack, I was very paranoid because, they live 8 minutes away. Like, literally on the other street. They live over there. So it's like that's another thing. I left Georgia to come to Texas to follow them here, and so, like, it's scary initially, and then I did Vipassana. I went on a Vipassana retreat after the PHP program, and, things got much better for me then. Continuing Vipassana, the practice of Vipassana, it stabilized my mind and fixed my mind in ways in which no other thing has. So it's like recalibrated my mind in the sense where I knew like, okay, I can just be aware of things and I don't have to engage with them. It helps me be more present, more mindful, less reactive,
Mhm.
and not in fear.
Yeah, so that's a beautiful segue. Why don't we talk about Vipassana? Because it's one of the things that we talked about before we came on. Um, if you could share, like, what is Vipassana and what kind of a Vipassana retreat did you go on? And it's funny because when I heard you saying that it was the only thing that helped you, my mind was just kind of like, but would wouldn't a silent retreat after an experience like you had, I feel like that could be the thing that could send a person over the edge. So
Mhm.
I'd love to hear about how that worked for you. So if you could
Mhm.
tell quickly, like in a nutshell, what Vipassana is and the structure of the retreat you went to, and
Mhm. So, Vipassana is deeper than meditation.
Mhm.
When you're there at the retreat, Goenka, who is the teacher, he's dead, but you watch all of his videos. He's the one who's doing all the meditations. Um, he even he says it's a form of yoga. So Vipassana, you're doing a body scan technically, but you're not releasing anything. You're just observing. You're sitting dead still for a 4 hour, no movement, no matter how painful it gets. You're training your mind that things are impermanent, that things, if you feel something like a jolt, because you will feel a jolt, you may even jump out of your skin, which sometimes I did because of the trauma that I experienced. But you're just observing it. You're going back in, connecting with your breath, your natural breath, and just observing it. Um, and so it was a 10-day silent retreat, no phones, have to give it away. You cannot write, you cannot read anything. Don't talk to anybody else. It's just you. You cannot talk to anybody. It's full silence,
Like even when the sessions are over, like
even when the
between
sessions are over.
session, dinner, bed, no talking.
No talking.
Oh, wow.
No talking. And so, you can't have their phone, so you have to make sure you bring your own watch to be like, "Okay, what time is it?" So I know to be where at what time. But if you
And you
have
can't
a
ask somebody. You can't say, "Oh, what time is dinner?" Because you can't talk it. Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
If you absolutely need to talk to somebody, like, if it's an emergency, there's a leader there that you can speak to, but as far as any of the participants, there's no talking at all. So and yeah, like you get there the first day, it's like, okay, by 5 p.m. this day, there's no talking. Silence starts. And then I think at the last day, So it says 10 days, but you're really there for 11 days. And so the last day, you can speak then, but it's 11th day, so
What do you have to say after being silent for 10 days?
exactly.
Wow. So, so you said you watch videos, so there's not even like a person leading it? You're just watching videos or
There's a teacher there, so they have you're listening to his voice as you're meditating. There are, so the retreat is like women on this side, men on this side. There's a female teacher there. Again, they're just there sitting at the front, silently watching you. I say watching you, but they're just
yeah,
there,
observing. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
observing you. And then there'll be moments where, like I think on the third day or so, they'll start taking you back. They're asking you questions. So how is everything? Are you able to observe your breath? That's one of those things. Like without your mind wandering. Um, and they have opportunities where you can sign up to speak to them if you have further questions, like on a one-on-one, but they'll bring you back there in groups. The teachers will to ask you those questions. And then so he's doing those meditations throughout the day. At the end of each day, there is a 1 hour lecture by Goenka, and that's full on just watching him on the screen.
Wow. Um, yeah, so I have ADHD.
I have a lot of stuff.
I have ADHD, and so honestly, Mandisa, I don't know. I mean, I uh, the cult that my mother was involved in, one of the tools was meditation, and, she taught my siblings and I meditation when I would say I was about 6. I was about 6, and, I couldn't even at 6, I couldn't sit and, do the silent thing. So I've always had up until about 10 years ago, I had a very sort of adversarial relationship with meditation because whenever I was in a setting where meditation was happening, I would just like fake. I would fake me because I patently could not do it because,
Mhm,
I mean, the Buddhists, talk about monkey mind. I always joke
mhm,
that my monkeys are caffeinated
mhm,
because, but later somebody told me that it's impossible to completely silence your mind.
mhm,
The thing is that meditation is you're observing your thoughts. You're not engaging them and you're letting them go.
mhm,
And so somebody gave me the metaphor of so you're sitting on a beach and you're watching ships go by. You're on the beach, the ships are in the ocean. Do you get up from the beach and dive into the water and swim out to every boat that goes by? No, you don't. You sit back on the beach and you just observe. And so meditation is you staying on the beach and observing the ships go by. Whenever you feel like you want to get up and dive in the water and go after them, then you just pull yourself back and
mhm,
say, I'm going to sit here on this beach and I'm going to mind my business and let those ships go by and
mhm,
not engage.
mhm,
And that, just that little silly metaphor
mhm,
really helped me. And so I also learned that the monkeys are caffeinated for about the first 5 minutes, and then they sort of lose interest and they move on. So if
mhm.
I can get beyond the first 5 minutes, I can sort of hang in there and get a little bit of good meditation in.
Yep. Well,
Um
I was the exact same way. I couldn't meditate before Vipassana retreat. And even during and that was another thing that they tried to use against me in the cult because it was big on all of these spiritual practices, and meditation and body work was one of them. You used to fake in meditation. I used to fake in yoga, like, but because I have this thing where I have but monkey brain and I maladaptive daydream, where my mind will literally make up stories that if it's
Oh, yeah.
funny, I will, like, laugh out loud, and if it's, like, sad, I will cry. Like, if music is on, I will play it out in my mind and go through the emotions, like, viscerally. And so, meditation was difficult. One thing that happened to me helped me was the teacher, she said that, "The mind enjoys action."
Mhm.
That's what it that's what it does. It just likes action. And she said it's normal, like, because in Vipassana, they train you to observe your sensations. Your mind overreacting and my mind doing a lot of crazy things is a sensation. Just observe it. Don't engage. So very similar to what you said, it's like
Mhm.
a part of meditating is observing the mind, going back and just returning back to breath. Um, and yeah, Vipassana, like sitting there for those 10 days helped me. So I honestly say if people have issues with, it's not for everybody. There were people who left the 10
Oh,
days
that's what I was
before
gonna
they
ask you
happened.
too, because
Yeah.
I heard you're not allowed to leave. They excuse me, they tell you in the beginning, if you think you're gonna leave, don't come.
Yeah, but there are people who leave still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not
Wow.
gonna like, they can't force you to stay. That's
Of
kidnapping.
course not, of course
Yeah.
not. Yeah, that would be
Like
a
if that
cult.
yeah.
That would be a cult.
That would be a cult. And you know one thing that I love too the most is that Gonka mentioned cults quite a lot. Because in other traditions, they mention cult not in the way that we mention, like it doesn't have a negative connotation.
Yeah.
And so he mentioned different cults and different sects and things like that. And he was like, this is not a cult. Um, it's not a religion. You don't have to be Buddhist to do this. Like,
Mhm.
it was very much so, and like, it was so great for me that I almost told my ancestors, like, if I'm supposed to do this, like, if I'm supposed to be in Ifa or Orisha, like, let me know, because if not, I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna just do
Uh-huh.
Vipassana
Yep.
and call it a day.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Vegan intersectional says you might like laughter yoga because that is beneficial as well. Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
I've heard of it. I think I saw it on a documentary. I've never tried it. But yeah, that cult thing, um, it's like human beings, I think the people who create cults, have a very, very deep understanding of human nature, and they know how to choose the people that are hungry for that connection and exploit that, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
and that yeah, go ahead.
oh,
I was
that's
gonna okay. I was gonna say, I also think that we don't realize how prevalent cults are. Like, even in relationships can be cults. Like, it only takes 2 people for a cult to
yep,
form, really.
yep,
So, there's a I'm part now that I'm kinda breaking down people's relationships, like, I'm talking about my experience in a cult, but how I'm observing other people's relationships and like how I'm now observing people wanting me to relate with them is very cult like, you know? I think that when our mind is not decolonized and when we have pain bodies that are visceral, um, we can automatically want people to operate in a cult like dynamic. Family's number one thing that can be cult.
absolutely, absolutely.
Abusive relationships, cults.
Cult. Yep,
Toxic loyalty with these cliques and these girls that hang and these men that hang together, cults.
yeah,
All
yep,
these things there's a lot of people claim community, but it's just a cult.
yeah, yeah.
So
Companies also, yeah, workplaces can
yes.
absolutely, absolutely.
America in itself, politics, cults.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. I was involved in a workplace where we had rolling layoffs, and
Mm,
I really, because I have been involved at least 2 cults. I wouldn't call it a cult, but we had a trauma bond. Our team had a trauma bond
mhm,
because, um, at the start of the rolling layoffs, the managers brought us into this big conference room and they said, "We're gonna start doing layoffs, and we're not gonna tell you when. It's gonna be on Fridays." So I said, as we were walking out of that conference room, everyone's filing out, like, we just been given our death notice. And I said, "So now the sword of Damocles is dangling over all of our heads."
mhm,
And so my I'm a writer, so my what was the content team, our content team just sort of bonded together,
mhm,
and we were just being picked off one by one, by one by one. And we created a group chat that it's still on Facebook now. Every now and then somebody we went to each other's weddings, we sent baby gifts when people had babies. We stayed because, to the bitter end, we
mhm,
hung in there
mhm.
as a team because it was just I just don't now I after having had that experience, I understand now why people come back and shoot places up. Like, Remember there used to be, like, workplace shootings? I had
Yes.
school shootings, unfortunately, seem to have replaced that in our culture,
Yeah.
but whenever I would see a workplace shooting, I would think, "What is that about?" And then because at the day they had that meeting in the conference room, then the next day we came into work and there were security guards.
Oh, I
We
bet.
had never seen we never had I worked there for 4 years,
Mhm.
and we had never had security guards. And so,
Mhm.
on the Fridays when people were let go, the security guard would come to your desk and you'd get a box and you would it was the most it was the most inhumane thing I'd ever witnessed, but
Yeah.
it was a I feel like not I feel like, we had a trauma bond. It
Mhm.
wasn't a cult. There was no money involved, there was no
Yeah.
sex involved, there was
Yeah,
no
yeah.
control. It's just
Yeah.
that we just sort of linked arms and said, "We're gonna
Mhm.
stay together no matter what." And as each
Mhm.
one of us were fired, we still the group chat was going.
That's good. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Lazy and Golden said, "My job is totally a cult. I gotta get out of there." Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. So or learn how to operate, you know,
Yeah.
and not let no, don't no, without buying into it, right?
Right, right.
So, yeah. Wow. That's just amazing. So, yeah, I learned about Vipassana from watching a documentary.
Mhm.
I think it was called The Dhamma Brothers. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
Okay, there's a documentary about, some men who go to prisons where the section of the prisons where the men are what is it called? No possibility of parole. Like,
Mhm.
it's like the one step down from execution. Like, you don't get executed, but you're in prison until you die.
Yeah,
Some
life
like
without parole.
consecutive life sentences. So
Mhm.
they are going to live and die in that place.
Mhm.
Nothing. There's no way they're going to be out.
Mhm.
Um, and so they go to these prisons. So the Dama brothers, I believe, is the name of the. Yes, maximum security is the name of the group of men who do this. So they went. I believe that this prison was in Louisiana. So they very carefully selected a group of men and had them go through Vipassana, and they filmed the process, and it was just amazing the changes that overcame because these men knew they weren't ever 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 going to get out, but they wanted to. They were already dealing with forgiveness, forgiving themselves, and all. Um, but it's a beautiful. I'll share the link I'll after this live. I will find it.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it was just so when I heard that, immediately I'm start Googling, what is Vipassana? Like, what? Because,
Mhm.
I had already had this love-hate relationship with meditation
Right.
for my whole life. But I thought, if these men in the maximum security prison who were facing consecutive life sentences, if they
Mhm.
could sit in, Vipassana for 10 days at a time and do this thing, then, maybe that can help, my monkey mind,
Mhm.
situation. So yeah, um, I feel like that's something that I really, really would like to pursue. There is one, but it just fills up so quickly. You can schedule it online.
Mhm.
Um, and so you have to schedule it like 6 or 9 months in advance.
Right.
And they try to group people, like there's one like for African Americans, there's one for whatever. There's different
Where is
interest groups
that?
in the New York, New Jersey area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have one like that in Georgia too. In Texas, that doesn't exist. Like grouping us in those type of groups.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, yeah, I always encourage people to try to go at least once because it is free technically. Like you
Yep.
don't have to pay anything. Just ask for a donation afterwards.
Yep.
Um, and they even tell you that your time can be donated. Like um, can help clean if you don't have a lot. Like just to help because everything there is based off of donations.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I always try to tell people to do it at least once. Just try it and see what happens.
Yeah.
But one of the things I will say too about it is that I will caution people with is that they will ask you about your mental health state
Yep.
when you're signing up. And The first time, Imma be honest, when went for Vipassana, I was not honest about my mental health state, because I knew that, like, okay, I'm just removed from a PHP program, these people not gonna let me go there, so I didn't tell them anything. The second time I tried to go, I was honest, and I didn't get accepted, and then I watched this TED Talk about someone, speaking of a man who was very similar to me, who went to Vipassana once, and it was great. He was seeing a lot of, like, he was a they were talking about, like, the way that in other cultures, the way that shamans have these, um, hallucinations, et cetera, they get training. Here, when we start having developing our gifts, we get a label. And so, he was talking about when this, dude was going through his thing, Vipassana helped him. And, so he went once and it was great, and then the second time he went, they found out about his mental health and they denied him. Um, and that man ended up being homeless on the street, et cetera, et cetera. And that's actually, like, one of my biggest fears, being homeless, because I've been homeless before in Atlanta, um, and because I know there is a huge stigma about people with mental health issues the way that I have them, and because I know it's really difficult for people like us to keep a job and maintain a job because our
Yep.
minds, it just don't work in corporate America. And so, like, in doing this work, it's like I'm noticing naturally how, like, that's why I took the charge to do Vipassana daily on Substack, because one, not everyone has a place to do, they can just take off 10 days out of their work. Not everyone has that. Two, people not maybe not wanna do it. Three, they're wanting to know what it is, and maybe somebody out there has my story similar, where they need that communal space to do
Mhm.
it, and there's no outlet for it because they've been kind of, like, outcasted from the sits, the communal sits. That's also why I have, like, one of my offerings that's, like, strictly for that. Like, if you want to receive meditations, get a lot of information about just the mindfulness path in general, boom, this is for you. So, I'm very, intentional about my mental health.
I love that, I love that. So how then do you do a Vipassana sit on Substack? I mean, are you just sitting in silence with a group? I mean.
Well, in the Vipassana retreats, he's guiding the meditations. So, it's like, yeah.
Oh, so you're
So each
guiding the meditation.
Mhm,
Oh,
mhm,
beautiful. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it's guided, because one of the reasons why I did it too is because on YouTube, all the guided meditations are not us.
Yes.
So, and it's not, for me, it's not good for the psyche when you're in your mind trying to connect with your higher self to hear a voice that doesn't come from your collective consciousness. And as a Black woman, we were the first ones here. So we have the power to connect to a whole bunch of consciousness. So yeah.
Yep. I love that. So what a beautiful offering. So are you finding then that people who are sharing Vipassana with you on Substack, are they then working with you privately? Or is that a good sort of, I don't know what the word is that sort of converting into your, programs?
Yes. So interestingly enough, I have a cohort that's going on right now. That I did a session on Vipassana, and we did a meditation on it, and I was like, "Yeah, this is what we have to do." And they was like, "You should do these on Substack." So they're the ones who actually got me to do it on Substack. They're like I call them my ride or dies, because they're always constantly pouring into me, um, helping me, like, and really investing in what I'm doing and what I'm building. I
So
love
who is
them for
this?
that.
Who is this now?
Yeah, so the people, so you see some of them in the chat. So
Oh,
Stephanie,
okay,
Danielle, Lazy and Golden, and Stephanie,
okay.
Danielle, Dr. Leah. I seen her coming here. Like, those are women in my cohort who are also with my Vipassana. Like, Stephanie saying, I did Vipassana for 14 days straight, and I found out I can get high without smoking weed. Vipassana makes me feel high, and I always tell people that.
Wow.
I always tell people that. I don't do drugs for that reason because I did shrooms once, and, the experience I got with shrooms is the same thing I do when I do a specific channel with my ancestors. So it's like, that's just ancestor work. I know I can do that. The same with Vipassana. I know how to get myself that high that is natural to us. All of these drugs that they're giving us, psychedelics, any psychedelics, we have the power to do that within ourselves.
Yes.
Um, and that's what I wanna teach other people to do. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
work that I just love it.
yeah. I'm
Eh
gonna have to follow up with you because, I have another teacher who leads plant medicine journeys,
Mhm,
and, I have not felt called to a plant medicine journey. Like, I just keep hearing about, like, ayahuasca and DMT and all these things, and I just think I heard someone describe it um, as a human being, like, in your own power, you can just open a door, but if you take this plant medicine, it's like breaking a hole in the wall. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
mhm, mhm,
why not just open the door and walk through rather than crash through the wall, right?
mhm,
So, and no shade to plant medicine because it's some for some people, that's their journey, that's their path.
right,
I have not felt called to that. Like, I've also been, like, surrounded by, um, Ifa and a lot of African traditional, um, religions or, spiritual journeys. I have not been called to that.
mm,
And, it's interesting because my daughter gave me an ancestry DNA kit to test,
mhm,
and, you know, throughout my life, people have asked me if I was biracial, because, I mean, I don't know if white people understand this, but Black people will treat you differently whether you're light-skinned or whether you're biracial.
mhm,
I
mhm,
had
mhm,
a dear, dear friend in college. We looked like sisters.
mhm,
Her mother was white, her father was Black.
mhm,
Both my parents are Black.
mhm,
So, I could walk around and say I'm biracial because, she and I look the same,
mhm,
except she had much more Caucasian hair than I do.
mhm,
Anyway, all of that to say, it turns out that I am about, 40% of my DNA is European.
mm, mhm,
So, all those people throughout my life who would ask me, "Are you sure you're not mixed?"
mhm,
I have Scottish. 20% of my DNA is from Ireland because I
mhm,
have Irish ancestry on both sides. So,
mhm,
all of that to say, I feel like, um, even though I fully and completely embrace, I mean, the two biggest DNA representations, Nigeria, Ireland, for me. So, um, I don't
Sounds like
know.
a
I just
Sinners movie. I'm kidding, go ahead.
we're not going there, but I know what you're saying. Um, so I just feel like there are other aspects of my ancestry, right? Aside from just the African, I think it's beautiful. I know a woman from Ghana who is what is that called? I can't. I just she's in that tradition, and I can't remember what she's called.
A
Um,
con, I think it's called.
yeah, she's an Akan
Yeah.
priestess.
Mhm,
Yes. Um, but I just have never felt called to that.
mhm,
Although it has fascinated me, I've never felt called to it. I
mhm,
mean, I I studied with, Reverend Doctor Ian Van Zant, and she has
mhm,
her own, Ifa
mhm,
circle. She's a high priestess and all that.
mhm.
2 people in my class ended up going over to that. It's a whole separate program from the seminary, but they ended up going over and doing the initiation and all that.
Mm, mhm.
And, yeah, I was just never called to it. But, I have been fascinated by the plant medicine journeys and all of that, but again, I haven't feel called to it
Yeah.
because I'm so glad to hear you say that it's possible to attain those same states without
Mhm,
the chemicals, right? Because
mhm.
I feel like ADHD is not a mental health condition, right?
Right,
It's the way our brains are wired.
right, right.
However, I feel like for me, I am late diagnosed, although not late diagnosed, late awareness of it, because I was diagnosed. My mother was, um, in college when I was little. Like she was in college before I started kindergarten and while I was in kindergarten, and then my dad made her stop. So
Mhm.
she came very close to getting her early childhood degree.
Mhm.
And so she noticed that I had dyslexia. And back then they lumped dyslexia and dyscalculia into one thing,
Mhm.
and then ADHD, although they called it ADD in those days.
Mhm.
But she wouldn't let me be medicated because she felt, because all they had then was Ritalin.
Mhm.
And she did not understand the mechanism of Ritalin. So she would never let, so I went my entire life unmedicated, you know, um, with ADHD. And then when I went through menopause, the ADHD just went off the rails.
Mhm.
So I feel like if I was like, no, 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 we don't need to add plant medicine to this. What's happened in
Mhm.
the crazy house in here? No, no, no. So I'm glad to know that there is a way to reach
Mhm.
those higher states of consciousness
Mhm.
without chemical inducement.
Yes. Yes, my whole thing that's I was telling somebody this earlier, it's so funny. I was telling them about the cult. I was like, it was the best of time, or it was the worst of time. Because I learned so much. Especially about different things to do spiritually to attain, because she was anti a lot of stuff. She became very anti, like there was no meat allowed in the kitchen, right? There was no she used to smoke weed. I didn't smoke weed. She used to smoke weed. She stopped. Like and we did shrooms only once. She didn't do it, but we did it. And like I told you, it was like the same thing of being with my ancestors. It's literally there's a way to do everything. I know how to train my mind to get to certain frequencies without any of those things. And it's like I told you, it's like that's one of my real goals is to teach everyone how to do that,
Yeah.
because I really hate that. I'm not gonna say hate. I dislike that it's taught and forced down on us that we need drugs to experience this. And it's
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I hate capitalism, especially because of what has done to spiritual practices. Those drugs and things were only given to people if they had like extreme issues, or if they were the shamans of that village and they're trying to get some big ass messages that expound beyond them, just themselves, and they want it fast. Um, so it's like what they're using it for now are things that you can literally do on your own if you allow yourself the time to just be.
Yep.
Um and you allow yourself to do the work to actually heal. People don't want to sit though. People do not want to sit. And so drugs become easy. Capitalism is like fast, fast, fast. Instant gratification is a byproduct of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I feel like drugs, I don't mean drugs, like plant medicine, like
Mhm.
ayahuasca. I really feel like it should be something that you're called to that path.
Yeah.
Because, for some people, like for my teacher, she does it and she gets these beautiful insights. She has tried to describe like the creatures that she has seen and all that. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm studying the book of Enoch with her right now. We're reading through the whole Christian Bible, and
Mhm.
we're on the book of Enoch, which is obviously not in the Bible.
Mhm.
It's a book that was not included in the canon. But, there are parts of that book where it's pretty clear that the writer was somehow, I'm going to say medicated
Mhm.
because of the things they were describing,
Mhm.
so, yeah, it's
But you
just,
can also see those things. Plant medicine is real. To your point, if you have that calling, you should do it, right? And you can see some of those things too if it's not your calling and you have that gift. Um, so yeah, it's like a both end situation.
okay.
Takes time, um, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because I have been very sensitive to energy and, we used to have a spiritual center, a physical before COVID. I mean, yeah, before COVID, we closed it down like right around March 2020. And when I was doing the work, um, when I was in seminary with um, Mama Ian Levanzan, I learned about clearing, energetic clearing, space clearing.
Mhm.
And so when I would come back to my spiritual center, I would come and do space clearing in the morning before service. And I would just be like, you guys have got to go. Like, I would feel, and I told them, I said, we are not alone in this room right now.
Mhm.
We have company. And so I would go and I would walk through and I would pray and I would just be like, in my sometimes I'd say it out loud, but sometimes it would just be sort of in my mind, just like we we are ushering you out, sweetie.
Mhm.
It's,
Mhm.
so yeah, so I have definitely and I've also had an experience of, it's not astral travel. What is it called? Maybe it is astral travel. One night, so one of my colleagues in that class, in a practitioner class I was taking at our center, she had her own little spiritual shop in the next town over in Montclair, New Jersey. She had a little spiritual shop where she sold candles, she sold sage, crystals. She had beautiful singing bowls, and so there was one part of the space was a shop. The other part was a space where she would do Reiki and she would do her spirit bowls and I mean singing bowls and all that.
Mhm.
Anyway, one day we in the time before class started, I said, "You know what? I had a dream about your center, about your space last night." And I told her it was like a it was like a lucid dream.
Mhm.
I feel like I was there walking through her shop in my dream. I don't know if I've ever had a dream as clear as that. And
Mhm.
I don't know if it's my ADHD, but I get some wild dreams.
Mhm.
So she just looked at me like, "Are you kidding me?" And I said, "No." And she said, "My space was broken into last night."
Mm.
She said,
Mhm.
and so she understood what was going on. She said, "Did you see anything?" And I said, "No. I
Mhm.
I had been there several times." So
Mhm.
it was a space I was very familiar with,
Mhm.
but I was asleep in my bed,
Mhm.
but
There's
I was in her space.
yeah.
And she said, "Could you go back?" And I said, "I can't. I didn't make myself do it. I didn't
Yeah.
lay there and go, 'Oh, let me think about her shop.'" It's
Mhm.
just something that happened. So it was the most bizarre thing
Mhm.
that she's like, um, yeah, it was broken into, some stuff was stolen, and because it was inside of another building. Her office is
Mhm.
inside of like an office building. Um, anyway, that's a little off the
Yeah.
path there, but yeah, wow.
But yeah, those happens. Those are like spiritual gifts.
Yeah.
Those like what you mentioned, being able to like be in a space and feel other spirits,
Mhm.
like just know or even feel them.
Yeah.
There's some people who may see them. Um, like it depends on the gifts. And like
Yeah.
dreams is like one of the main ways our spiritual gifts show up.
Absolutely. My
Yeah.
dreams, yeah, my
Yeah.
dream a lot happens in my dreams.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I can't say that I ever actually saw, but I definitely experienced, hearing, so clear it would be clairaudient, and, that particular, I guess, astral traveling, but it
Mhm.
wasn't. I feel like astral traveling is intentional, like, you say, "Okay, I'm gonna travel to Switzerland," so I don't know how it works, but,
Mhm.
it's all fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow, so this has been a mind-blowing conversation, Mandisa. Um, so as we kind of wrap it up
Mhm.
here, thank you so much again for being
Thank
here.
you for having
Um,
me.
yeah, what is one final piece of wisdom that you'd like to share as we sort of bring this to a close? And, how can people get in touch with you and,
Mhm.
a little bit about your offering?
Sure. Well, you can get in touch with me on Substack. I'm here. I run the 13th letter, and my DMs are open. I have a website as well, mandisamosi.com, where I host my cohorts. That's where I have all my bookings as well, my services. And my cohorts, I have one that's starting April 2nd, the Embodying Spirit cohort. So the ladies that are in that now, there's another one. My tip jar is always open. I tell people. Um, so dollar sign my name. Catch up. But and I also have a offering that kind of teaches people how to connect more deeply with their ancestors,
Mhm.
meaning accessing their, I call it accessing your inner oracle. So you're really strengthening your own spiritual gifts. I'm showing people how to tap in and tune in and better align with their intuition, all of their clairs.
Mhm.
So I gift people a tarot deck and teach them tarot and that, but how to do transformational tarot, and also any of your other gifts that may come up as well. So it's like all of the things I was telling you about, like how to see what you can see in the shrooms doing ancestors is through there. And one of the main things, and another thing that I have too is the mindfulness path, which is $88 per quarter for that one, and that's where you would get all the Vipassana and that information on. So my website has a lot of that information, and if you read my newsletters, they're there as well. And if I had one word of wisdom to leave the people, it would be to trust yourself, honestly.
Yes.
Just trust yourself. Like above anything else, trust yourself. You're not crazy. This world is crazy. Okay? You are,
Absolutely.
yeah, you are being surviving and thriving in this world. And you're reacting to these things that's in this world.
Mhm.
So learn how to respond to it, and you can transmute that craziness to brilliance.
Oh,
So
I love that. I love
yeah.
that. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for joining us and for
Yes,
hanging in
thank
here with
y'all.
us. And I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. And we are going to have another conversation because,
We are.
yeah, I am all about tarot and oracle and all that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we'll definitely. But
Wonderful.
have a beautiful evening and thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Peace.